So welcome to this episode of the CGU Learning Center. As some of you, or most of you probably know, I have been doing a 30-day workout challenge. And I got that workout from a company called Darebee. And we have with us today David from Darebee, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the workouts and just some overall workout and physical health stuff. So thank you so much, David, for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, I mean, one of the biggest questions I have is all the workouts are very pop culture superhero themed.
Mm-hmm.
How did Darebee come up with those? Because that's just, it's fascinating. It's awesome.
Well, I'm glad you like them, and there's a story to that, obviously. And the story is that Naila Ray is the founder of Darebee, and she has a modeling stroke fitness background. She used regimes to keep herself fit. When her career changed, she needed something to motivate her. And what she thought would be cool is something which is accessible, which is image driven, which sort of fires up her mind and goes from there. And that's what she created for herself. And then she started sharing her workouts, and it was back in the days of Google Plus, if you remember that network.
Vaguely, yeah.
And they took off like wildfire. They went all over the internet. And that's how the entire Darebee birth story came about. She thought, oh, maybe I can share them with a lot more people. And she had a whole stack of workouts, and it was only her on her own those days. Okay, she had no team, nothing. It was just a hobby. So she started sharing them through her personal website, and she soon outgrew that. And then things started getting serious, but she's getting, tens of thousands of people from all over the world. And they were sharing the workouts and more workouts, and she had to create more. And she couldn't. I mean, she had spent, months and months and months creating a handful of workouts for herself. So she asked for volunteers, and a team came about, and Darebee started being formed. And that's the origin story of Darebee. It is pop culture. Yeah, it's wild. It's pop culture driven, obviously, because that's what fires us up. We have a very serious intent. I mean, the slogan or the motto of Darebee is that fitness is a right and it should never be a privilege. So we try to make everything as accessible as possible for as many people as possible, to as many people as possible, with as few barriers as possible. And that's what we strive to do. In order to do that, fitness has to be easy and has to be fun. I mean, for too long, we had the no pain, no gain motto.
Oh,
which is
yeah,
great if you're an athlete. It's fantastic if you're a boxer. It's fabulous if that's your career. It is total turn off if what you want to do is get fit and feel happy in your body, feel capable. So you don't want to say, oh, no pain, no gain, because it's not going to fire you up. We had the suck it up brigade where they say just do it and go with the pain. And again, these things are hardcore. And we've sort of been conditioned through films and popular culture and perhaps books and stuff like that to go for that. But fitness shouldn't be like that. It should be fun. It's fundamental. We should all have a right to feel comfortable in who we are, to feel capable in our bodies, to feel that we're constantly improving day by day in small incremental steps. So that's the entire philosophy in a nutshell of Darebee and what the team does right now. And everything which we do, everything which we create, is intended to fire people up. It is there to make them feel comfortable. It is there to make them feel at whatever level of fitness they are, that they can actually do something. So we create many different workouts. There's some workouts which are fiendishly difficult and some which are very, very accessible. They're all hard because, with whatever level you're starting from, you are striving up. But it is the striving that actually helps us become better, both in our mind and in our body, because you can't really change physically if you don't change mentally. So it's a connected sort of equation.
Right, and I mean, I'm glad that Darebee takes the approach of do it as you feel comfortable, because I mean we're taught growing up that if you feel pain, something's wrong. But then you've got the workout philosophy of, well, if you're feeling pain, you're doing the right thing, and it seems so very counterintuitive,
Yes, I mean, there are many sort of layers to what you said. Let's unpack it a little bit, right?
Okay.
I mean, a lot of sort of hardcore fitness fanatics or fitness advisors, if you like, tell us that, you really need to push your body, push it to the edge, because that's how it actually begins to change. And that's how, the pain which you're feeling is the pain of change, if you like. And there's an element of truth to that, but it is not the only truth. I mean, now we have stacks and stacks and stacks of research, which shows that if you do what we call micro workouts, 2-minute workouts, 5-minute workouts, 10-minute workouts, the kind of thing that most people who are into heavy sport will laugh at. But the research shows that on a cumulative basis, these tiny workouts, which you do every day and then you barely break into a sweat, create sufficient pressure for adaptive changes to happen in your muscles and in your neurochemistry. And that changes your body's athletic and physical capability. So, unless you're going for something very specific, like, you're going to spend 10 rounds in a ring boxing with somebody, there's no point, at which case, definitely you need to go to the limits and feel the pain. Otherwise, you may not survive that kind of grueling bout. There's no point in pushing yourself every day to the point where you feel uncomfortable while you're doing it and uncomfortable the next day, because all you remember is the discomfort. And funnily enough, from a neuroscientific point of view, or rather a neurobiological point of view, we are hardwired to avoid pain. So it's it's not pleasant, it's no fun, and it doesn't really want you to make, it doesn't make you want to do it day after day.
Right. I mean, obviously, some pain as your body changes is normal. Like I said, I've been doing the Ripley workout, and for the first week, my lower back doing those
yes.
leg tricks and stuff.
Yes.
But once that finally adjusted, I was fine. But while my muscles were adjusting that, oh, this is a new routine we're actually getting used now, that was kind of painful.
It is, and sometimes, and I'm reminded here of something the Romans used to say. They used to say that pain is a sign of weakness leaving the body, and we kind of laugh at that the next day after we're hurting after a workout we've done, which is pretty hard, and we sort of try it out, and the next day you can barely walk. So we kind of remember that and laugh. But there's an element of truth to that as well. Adaptations are a response to pressure, which is applied to the body at a physical level, and there's an element of hurt, if you like, in that. But it shouldn't be the norm. It shouldn't be the kind of thing that you feel day after day after day, unless, of course, like I said, you're an extreme sports athlete. You're doing this for a living, so a lot depends on that. You're a boxer, you're an Olympic athlete, in which case you're pushing everything to the very max. And yes, then it's understandable. For an ordinary person, what do you want to do? You want to be healthy, capable, feel good in yourself, and feel good in what you can do. And that's an incremental build-up day after day without a lot of pain involved.
So taking on an exercise routine, and especially if you're not used to doing it, again, for whatever reason, because you've been in the house of COVID, if it's inclement weather or whatnot, there's going to be some stretching and discomfort. Like I said, I experienced that, but once my body adjusted, it's been fine.
I can actually tell you that, what happens every time you adjust, your own horizons broaden. So let's say you're a person starting from zero, and we all start from zero at some point. So what do? We do something basic. Maybe we'll go for around the last 5 minutes. Maybe we do 2 push-ups. Maybe we, lift 5 kilograms in weights, which, if you're a guy, it's negligible. For a woman, it can be significant depending on the upper body strength. So let's start with, absolute basics. You do that, and it almost kills you the first time. And you persevere a little bit, and it becomes easier and easier, and then it becomes easier. And then what do you think straight away? The moment it becomes easier, you say to yourself, what can I do? So then your horizons expand. So then you think, okay, where can I take this? What's my limit? Without pushing yourself to the very edge, you're trying to find, what is the next step in that journey which you started.
So I feel like there's also this misconception that when people start a workout routine, they're going to see like immediate drastic results.
Yes.
Again, using myself as an example, I notice little things like I have a little bit more energy during the day. I can go up a couple flights of stairs and not get winded, little things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if people feel like that's not the results that they're looking for. For me, I realize it, and it's huge. It's like, oh, I am doing something. I'm making an improvement physically within myself.
Yes.
So, I mean, have any advice or something for the people who are expecting those big, dramatic, like Captain America-like results?
Well, here's the thing. Even for people who train professionally and they put in, 3-4 hours a day training, the results are incremental. The body is essentially an energy optimizing machine, and exercise is a means of controlling that energy and managing it or channeling it to specific needs. So what does the body do? It takes in food in the form of energy. It uses some of that to repair and build, and it uses some of that to power its own activities. And exercise is one such activity. So if we're looking for massive changes, they never happen very quickly because the energy coefficient that's required for that kind of massive change is too large. It has other negative effects on the body. And it can happen if we chemically induce it. If we take anabolic steroids, for example, okay, that can happen, but it has, a downside to that, which is it can damage us neurologically, or it can damage us, at the physical level by creating tumors and growths and all sorts of things. So essentially, if we do this naturally on our own, it is always incremental, and it always depends on where we start, and then how long are we willing to go on for, and what's the next step always. And we've had examples from Darebee because we get a lot of letters from people, a lot of emails, and some of those are shared amongst the team. And the people who were age 65 and they started essentially from zero. And within 2 years, they were doing HIT workouts, which is, you think, okay, but then you're 67, right? And you're thinking, okay, but they're doing it, right? And that's brilliant because I think that shows that, the journey basically has no end. You can just go on forever. When we say, fitness is essentially a journey, it's not a destination. We say we're fit, but that's not a destination. If it is, you're going to stand still, you're going to lose ground, and you're going to backslide. So it's constant journey. You may not get stronger, but you may get faster. You may not get leaner, but you get healthier. You may feel more in control of your body. These are positive outcomes, and all those positive outcomes build the person that we're becoming in a much better way.
In your professional opinion, how important is it to make a routine and stick to it?
Okay, we're talking about motivation here, and here's the misnomer, or rather the misunderstanding about motivation. People think you either have it or you haven't, and it doesn't work like this. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, motivation is a series of actions we engage in, and in order for us to engage in those actions, our brains have to reach a certain point where neurochemically they take us from a place where we feel discomfort to a place where we feel either less discomfort or more comfort. If that's the journey, we will do it. And the example I normally give, I give talks internationally sometimes, and before COVID, obviously, right. and I try to explain motivation. And this is what I say, right? You're sitting in the most comfortable seat in front of me, and I've put a sort of a walnut under your cushion. So after a while, it doesn't matter where, you begin to feel it, and then discomfort increases and increases and increases. And as the meeting goes on, at some point, discomfort reaches the point where it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to have to move. And the moment you move, and you move yourself away from, the walnut placed under your seat, your cushion, you feel a relief. And that's motivation, basically. Okay, that's what it is. So in order for anything to stick, in order for us to have a routine, which will allow us to get better, to get physically fitter, to feel healthier, to feel more in control of who we are physically, what we need to do in our brains, in our minds, is establish the payoff for us. Where am I now? What is it I don't like about myself? And this is not a body image thing. It has to be psychological, how you feel. It has to be how we feel inside ourselves. So if you think, well, this is what I like to do. I'd like to be able to go up a flight of steps without noticing it. I'd like to be able to come back from the supermarket and walk half a kilometer or a kilometer distance, carrying 2 bags without feeling that I get tired or I need to take the car. So if you want to do that, and that's your goal, then you can take the discomfort of exercise, and discomfort here is minor, because you're not feeling comfortable in your current self in order to get to the more comfortable position of your future self. And that's motivation. Then you can stick it because every day is a victory. Every day is a small win. And you know that I'm going to go through 30 days or 60 days or however long your routine is going to last. And at the end of those 60 days, I will have transformed myself. And then you say, okay, once you get there, that's when you think, what's next? What can I do next?
Right. Because I've been taping myself every day doing, like I said, Darebee's Ripley workout, and I always do a recap
Brilliant.
afterwards about like how I'm feeling, how I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And admittedly, I had one day where my heart wasn't it, but I still did it because I made this commitment.
Good.
So I said like, look, if you have days you don't want to do your workout, that's normal because I'm not really feeling it today, but I said I was going to do it. So I did it. So if you ever have a day where you're doing a routine and you just have a day where it's like, I don't want to, that's normal. Don't beat yourself up over
Yes.
that little hiccup.
I'm so glad you said that. This is absolutely key. You've got to remember, everybody thinks motivation is getting fired up, going, oh, yeah, hooray, and being like that all day, every day. And that's unrealistic, right? Even the most motivated amongst us, I used to do competitive martial arts, and I did it for a long time. I've been doing martial arts for about 30 odd years, and
oh wow,
yes, and I was doing competitive martial arts for about 15 years of that. So it was a long, long time, and it was like I was holding a job, and I had 16 hours of training a week, so it was really hard. And I did that 52 weeks a year for about 15 years. So it's crazy, right? And you think, oh, you must be highly motivated. No, I was not. I mean, there were days when I'd rather stay in bed. I was tired, I was sore, the weather, being Britain, the weather sucked big time. And you just didn't want to get out of bed, go for a run, come back, go to work, come back from work and go training again. Okay, but I did it because it was part of what I was doing. It's part of my identity. It's part of the fact that, I was competing and I thought other people are doing it and I'm going to face them. If I'm not willing to do that, I shouldn't be competing. So that kind of made me stick with it. But that is again the reasoning that we apply in each case. And the reasoning has to be you. It can't be something somebody external gave to you. It can't be somebody who says, oh, you ought to be this, or you need to look like this, or you need to feel like this. They have no right to tell you what to do with yourself. It's only you. So you have to be responsible for you. Then you've got to say, okay, if I'm responsible for me, and I want me to be a little bit better every day, what do I need to do? And this is what you need to do. And some of those days, you're not going to feel like doing it at all, right? Because it's natural. Okay, we're human, we're tired, we get disheartened, we have some, really bad days when everything simply goes wrong. And at the end of it, you still have to do, 20 push-ups. And it's so easy to say, I'm going to miss it today and I'm going to do 40 tomorrow. And here's the thing. If you miss it that day, it becomes that much harder the next day because now you have to do 40. So you raise the bar. So you actually made it harder for yourself to continue. So it's much easier to say, okay, bad day, doesn't matter. I'm still going to do 20 today. I'm going to go to bed afterwards. Tomorrow's going to be a new day. So you do it that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, again, the workout's easy to do. And I'm sure other people struggle with this. It's finding time in the day to do it. So, I mean, there are times I do it, if I can, I do it earlier in the morning, or, I do it when I get home in the afternoon. Sometimes it's early evening. There was one day I knew I had a lot of stuff going on like the entire day. So the only time I had to do it was literally at like 6 a.m. So like, all right, I committed to this. This is the only time I have to do it. I will get up early. It'll be a long day, but I'm going to do it.
Brilliant. I mean, that's amazing. Okay, that's real commitment, which means you've got your own reasons worked out. And even when you're feeling low, you're squeezing it in. And a lot of people who understand what I mean, I don't compete anymore. That was the biggest sort of loss in my life. The moment I stopped competing, I lost a lot of my motivation for training. It took me about 1.5 years to work it out again. Why should I keep on training? Because, I was fit to begin with. So when I stopped, there was a pretty high level of fitness. And then I thought, okay, I can sort of maintain this by doing this and that. But obviously I couldn't because I started, sliding back and you start telling yourself, what is it I need to do? So I had to work it out myself. And the moment you do that, then it becomes a lot easier to push yourself through on the tough days. And there's always going to be tough days. If you're doing a program, usually days 15 to 18 seem the hardest. It's like climbing Mount Everest.
See, to me, once I hit that halfway point at day 15, I'm like, wow, I'm now coming down the
Ah, see, see, there you
So
go.
it was getting to that point, because again, from my experience, it was daunting. It's like, all right, I'm only on day 3. I still got 27 more days of this, and I'm trying to
It
celebrate.
seems like a mountain, doesn't it, really?
Right, it does, and I'm trying to celebrate each week of completion. It's like, all right, I made it 2 weeks. I made it
Yes.
3 weeks. Yesterday just started 4 weeks for me.
Brilliant.
You know,
Yeah, that's really
um,
cool.
and what I shoot for in doing this is to show. I kind of call it average honesty because I'm an average person. I'm not in any great physical shape. I've got a couple of health things I struggle with physically, and I'm obviously I'm not a professional. I'm not a trainer, so this is just me trying to better myself a little bit and try to make myself more active because I don't have a whole lot of opportunity right now. So like I said, I say in the video, I'm sore today or I'm feeling pretty good. Recently, it feels like I've hit that plateau. Like last week, I lost 5 pounds, but now I'm hovering at that same weight. Um, some of the exercises are still kind of challenging. Some are easier, and again, it kind of depends on the day and the time I choose to.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned all this. And here's the thing. I mean, you said, this is average motivation, average problems you're struggling with. Totally understandable. If you were an elite athlete working at a world-class level, you'd be saying pretty much exactly the same things. Maybe the context would be slightly different in terms of difficulty. Yeah. Okay. Our bodies are basically very fluid in terms of how they behave each day. And because of that, this is why we can have physically bad and good days. And it doesn't matter how good you are, how fit you are. Sometimes you can have an amazing day, and sometimes you can have a really bad day. And we don't always know why, because we haven't, despite all our scientific advances, we haven't yet worked out how the biochemistry and the neurochemistry and the central nervous system and the kinetic change of the body work together to give us the perfect outcome. We don't know. It's still hit and miss. So you'd be complaining about that. You'd be saying, oh, sometimes my nutrition is not right, sometimes it is, and sometimes I feel okay, sometimes I don't. Same thing. You'd be struggling to find enough time to train. You'd be struggling sometimes to motivate yourself to get through your training session. So it's funny that, we're the same units always. A context may change because we can do things at a very high level or an average level. But essentially the struggle is the same, which means that how we handle it in ourselves is the same. You're as strong as somebody mentally and psychologically as somebody who perhaps does this at a competition level. And the only difference is that, perhaps they feel greater intensity in that because they have a real tangible purpose, because they know there's going to be a competition date, which is immovable, and they're going to be judged on that day on their performance, which is, incredible thing to, really stressful thing to deal with in your head. But, everything else, however, is the same. And you said, okay, you hit a plateau. And again, this happens to elite athletes. And here's why this happens. This we can understand a little bit better. We know that from a performance point of view, muscles need to build tiny cell engines inside themselves, which allows them to basically utilize the energy that the body needs better. And in order for those cells to be built, there's usually a 3-month period. If you're starting from zero, you're working, nothing happens. And 12 weeks later, suddenly your performance goes up. You think, how is that possible? Why did it go up so much? Well, those little cell engines, which basically, utilize ATP better and use neurochemical messengers better and allow the muscles to engage at a faster pace or a longer range, begin to actually work. Now, as you push past that, you think, okay, great, I improved. What's my next improvement? Well, your next improvement level now may be 3 to 6 months away, and it doesn't involve so much neurochemical changes at the cellular level as perhaps changes the central nervous system. So your head has to adapt new routines, and it has to network and create new neuronal connections in order to do that. Or you need to have greater coordination, or specific muscle groups need to be strengthened. And as you strengthen them, others become de-strengthened, and now you have to work on them. So this is the struggle. We are a puzzle in constant movement. It's like trying to solve Rubik's Cube as the colors change as you move them about. So that's what you're feeling, and people feel it all the time. Even like I said, elite athletes have very similar complaints, and the answer to all of them is, well, don't get disheartened. It is perfectly normal. It's your body. Experiment with it. Okay, without going crazy, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. But it's you. You know how you feel each day. You know what results you're getting, which means then you are beginning to build up your confidence on what your next steps should be. Okay, so it's not like you don't have a an army sort of sergeant drill major or somewhere, sort of yelling, get over that net,
Drop down and give me 20.
That's right. Yeah. There's no such thing. Okay. Yeah, your own boss. If you're your own boss, you gotta say, okay, I can do this, I can do that, and some days I can do it without even feeling it. Some days it's a real struggle, but I can do it. And that's the trick. Okay. So what's the next step which I need to do? And that's what you need to sort of factor into all that.
Do you find in your professional capacity that people get a little disheartened when they hit that plateau? It's like, oh, I'm still working
Yes.
out, but I'm not seeing
Everybody
any
does.
changes.
Absolutely, everybody does. I mean, even, like I said, even elite athletes hit that and they think, okay, why am I not changing? Because you're putting in the work, right? The work actually happens every day and you think, okay, I'm not improving now. So then you start thinking, okay, is this my limit? Is that as good as I'm ever going to get? And the answer to that is no, there is something beyond that. Then the other question is, am I doing it wrong? No, it's only natural. The body adapts. The body is an adaptive machine, essentially. Because it's an adaptive machine, it means that the moment it adapts to the pressure which you apply, it likes to stay there because it has optimized the amount of energy it's actually using for that. So let's say, for argument's sake, let's say that you can do one push-up, and that push-up is costing you 2 calories because you really find it hard. So if you do 50 push-ups, 100 calories, amazing. Okay, but the body has burnt a lot of energy for just 50 push-ups. So what happens? It gets stronger. If it gets stronger, then you do 50 push-ups and you only burn like 5 calories. You think, okay, this is cool. Now, of course, you have heavier muscles, and to maintain those muscles, you need to eat a little bit more, right? Because it's costing a little bit more during your sort of day, but it's still not costing you as much as it cost you initially to do those 50 push-ups. So it's a gain, which is why the body has changed. Now I think, okay, how do I get stronger? Maybe if I can do 100 push-ups. But the thing is, it's not linear. So if you do 100 push-ups, maybe it's not enough. And if you do 150 push-ups and you load too quickly, maybe it's too much of a load. So then, your elbow is going to start aching in your shoulder and you think, oh no, I'm injuring myself, which you are. And that's going to dishearten you even more. So what happens now? You're not improving, you're working harder than ever, and you get injured. So
It's
at that point,
a good time all around.
exactly. At that point, it doesn't matter who you are. Okay, you think, okay, I'm going to give this up. It's not for me. And this is what you need to work through it. You need to think, okay, what should I do next? How do I experiment with my body safely? Do I need perhaps to change the time I'm training at? Change the diet? Perhaps I should train on empty. Try that. Perhaps I should train with an added weight. Perhaps I should change the load. Perhaps I should change the intensity. It's an experimentation which you need to undertake. And as you take, you'll feel in yourself. As it gets difficult, but it's doable. It increases the pressure the body feels, adaptations kick in, and before you know it, you're on your next level going up.
If someone wants to start a physical fitness routine, say someone who's been in quarantine because of COVID and hasn't had a lot of physical activity, what duration per day of exercise do you recommend?
Well, everybody's going to be different, even if we assume that they haven't done it for so long, because we don't know their past history, we don't know their cellular makeup, we don't know how tall, heavy, or how old they are. So everybody's at a different place.
Super general.
Yeah, but if we say, okay, if you're willing to give it a try, you're looking anything between 5 and 10 minutes a day, which is, it's not super difficult to find. And during that time, do something which is challenging, but not too challenging. But the key here is to be consistent. Do it every day. Sometimes people tell me the common complaint, we have no time. And I say, well, have you got a minute? And they go, a minute? What can I do in a minute? I say, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do 15 push-ups. And usually they can do 15 push-ups in a minute. I say, you do that before you hit the shower in the morning. And you do that every day for a month. And at the end of the month, that's almost 500 push-ups. So now, if we take that pressure on the body, the adaptive response kicks in. By the end of the month, they're physically different, but they're also mentally different, because 15 push-ups may not sound for very much, but if you're doing it every single day, it's like you're carrying a mountain on your shoulders. So then it's not the physical thing that kills you. It's the mental thing. You feel that you're a slave to it. You think you can't do it. It becomes huge in your head. And in order for you to stick to it, you begin to change mentally in how you see yourself, how you want to do this, and why you want to do this. So if you manage to do it for a month, you have mental changes now, which become the foundation for your next transformation. And that is actually key. You take the most unfit looking person on the planet, give them a proper mental attitude, and I can guarantee you have a winner.
Yes. Well, I mean, and that's amazing advice. I don't think a lot of people realize that, because usually, stereotypically when you think about working out, it's like, oh, I got to commit 30 to 60 minutes to do this. But, knowing that you can, as long as you squeeze in at least 5 to 10 minutes a day, I think it's a better motivator myself, because it's a little bit harder to talk yourself out of. It's like, well, I got 5 minutes where I'm not doing something. So instead of watching TV, I can do sit-ups, or I can do push-ups, or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. We have an amazing body and an amazing brain. And the problems we face today is because our amazing body and our amazing brain evolved to help us survive fundamentally in an environment that was essentially hostile and required us to be very active. And we're talking about 20, 30,000 years ago. So then you had to run in order to hunt, and run in order to avoid being eaten. And you had, every time you weren't running for your life or running for your food, what did you do? You rested, because you needed your energy, right? Okay, so this is perfectly natural. Our bodies work like that, and our brains work like that. But in the modern world, we don't face the risk of being eaten. We don't have to hunt for our food. So the rest response or rest tendency is there, and the exercise avoidance is there because we didn't have to go and exercise in that environment. But because we're no longer running, now we actually have to create activities to keep our body sharp and our brains sharp. So that's what we're battling against. So essentially, if we manage to do that, even on a small everyday level, 2, 3, 5, 10 minutes tops, it will transform us.
That's awesome. So I've got just a couple of questions for you before we let you go.
Yeah, sure.
The other one is how important is nutrition when exercising? Because again, using myself as an example, I said at one point, it's like, I'm not dieting while I'm doing this. I'm trying to make healthier food choices. Like I'm having yogurt with lunch. I'm eating more salads, working more veggies in, but I'm still eating like donuts and the occasional fast food.
That's fine, no problem. Okay, the Darebee philosophy is that we are anti-diet, because if you're dieting, it's the same, it's a physical or the dietary or nutritional equivalent of, let's say, asking you to do half marathons every 2-3 weeks. So, I mean, that's unrealistic, right? Because it's physically, it's too exhausting. The same thing, if you're dieting nutritionally, you're adding pressure on yourself, both psychologically, emotionally, and physically, which is not really going to do very much, because all you're doing is you're reducing your energy intake. Your body is beginning to starve. As it begins to starve, it begins to lose weight. And the moment it stops starving, because you reach your ideal weight, whatever that weight is, what happens? The body says, hey, I'm now back in the land of plenty, and now I better eat more, because you don't know when the next famine might come, right? Because it has its own logic. So What does it do? Okay, what does it do? It makes you eat more, because it needs to put on the amount of weight that it lost, because it thinks, okay, now I've lost weight and I may need that back. And maybe I need some extra weight for the future. So now you
don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And in order to help you do this as quickly as possible, it also tries to bring your metabolic rate down. So even when you're doing the activities which you did before, you're not burning as much as you did, because your body is trying to hold you back. And you're feeling a bit sluggish, and your brain's also affected by this. And you feel bad in yourself. And here's the thing, when we feel bad, what do? Right? We go to our number one mood enhancer, which is food, because it's easy to accessible. So when we're feeling bad and feeling guilty, so then we tend to eat even more, and then we feel even guilty, and the whole thing just becomes a mess.
It just snowballs into a snowball.
Exactly. So here's the thing, don't diet. Just control your nutrition. How do you do that? Well, you're doing the right thing. You're adding variety. You're not cutting back. You're not sort of saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to sort of take sweets out of my diet because I like them. But you can be disciplined in when you have them. Okay, so you can say, and we've had examples of that. And when I was competing, I did the same thing. I used to never eat sweets during the week, but on the weekend, it wouldn't matter. whatever, whatever was on offer. I mean, I wouldn't go crazy, but if I was at a party and there's cake, I'd have cake. If they were, if I had chocolates, I'd eat chocolates. I'd have ice cream if I went to the movies. Even though I was training, right? But it was weekend. But during the week, I wouldn't have any sweets whatsoever. And that seemed to work for me, okay? I mean, I worked that code out for myself. You've got to work out what it is for you. Maybe you need to reduce the sweets you have for, whatever, 2-3 days a week or whatever. You have to sort of experiment to see how you can do it. But the trick always is to be easy to do and to be manageable. So you can't say to yourself, "Oh, I'm not having any sweets whatsoever," knowing that on Saturday you're gonna, your friend is gonna come around with a pack of donuts and they're gonna be delicious, and there's no way you're gonna say no to that, right? Because nobody would. So if you know that and you say to yourself, "I'm not going to have sweets," but you know that's gonna happen, what are you doing? You're setting yourself up for failure. And then what's going to happen? You're going to think to yourself, "Oh, I'm so bad. I can't stick to this. I have no willpower. This is terrible. I'm going to," and you're going to say to yourself, "I'm going to do something," which is unrealistic now, right? Again, as penance. And penance never works either. And this is bad. We shouldn't be guilting ourselves. It's fine. I mean, if it makes you feel good, do it. Just don't overdo it. So there you go.
Don't cause yourself any undue mental anguish.
No, we shouldn't. Okay, I mean, life is complex enough and difficult enough, and I think we feel enough mental and psychological and emotional strain just getting through life in the external world without piling that up in our internal world by, finger pointing at ourselves or guilting ourselves or setting ourselves up to fail, knowing that we're going to fail anyway. So this is, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It makes us feel bad. We shouldn't be doing any of that.
Wow, that is an amazing sound advice. And I'm sure making yourself mentally happy works towards the motivation to make yourself healthy and active.
Yes, absolutely. I have a limit when I run. When I compete, I used to run on treadmill, and even these days, my easy limit, I can run 7 kilometers, no problem. So I can do that. And I used to, and I haven't done it for some time now, so I'm not sure what my time is, but I can run 7 kilometers in 48 minutes, which is, pretty good time. Now, here's the thing. I can go to 10 kilometers. The next 3 kilometers are a killer. It's like I can feel my blood draining from me. And this is how I get through it. I smile.
Right, because you get endorphins when you smile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though, so I'm running on the treadmill, and when I was at the gym, people think, "Okay, he's losing it a little bit, surely," because I'm sweating, and I'm red, and sweat is dripping off me at 7K, and my breathing is heavy, and my eyes sort of focus internally because I need to motivate myself, so I'm going to make sure my technique is fine, and I've got 3 kilometers to go, and I'm smiling to myself. So, but the thing is, by smiling, I take the edge off me, right? So suddenly I don't feel stressed. I don't feel like I'm pushing hard. I'm smiling. And, by the time it gets to 8 kilometers, you think, okay, there's only 2 more. And 2 more is about 10 minutes. So you think I can hold for 10 minutes, but I keep on smiling. By the time we get to 5, then it's only 5, right? So 5 minutes. Right. So there you go. Okay, but that's my trick. Okay, so it comes back to what you said. You got to feel good. If I was there saying to myself, "Come on, you can do this. Oh, you're weak. You got to be stronger." Okay, I would stop because that's ridiculous, right? It doesn't work. It's beating yourself up.
So being stressed out and working out doesn't work out.
No, exactly. And that's a brilliant saying, actually. Somebody should frame that and put it on the wall.
So, and this is for the last question I got for you is for more of my own curiosity. It's kind of a two-parter, which is, do you personally have a favorite Darebee workout, and which one is it?
Well, the days before Warner Brothers came and told us we couldn't do fun tributes, we used to have Batman workout, and everybody loved that because everybody loves being Batman, right? But fight week, we have workouts as a combat workouts, and I love those because they use the entire body. So I absolutely love those. And anything which has to do with a katana, because the katana is a weapon which doesn't have its own energy. You have to supply it. So in order to move that weapon, you have to move your entire body behind it and position yourself and everything. So I love those workouts as well. And I still do those. There are days when I'll do the katana week for a whole week.
Awesome. So again, thank you so much for talking to us today. Again, I find the Darebee workouts amazing. When I first came across them, I was like, well, yeah, I want to train like my favorite superhero. I mean,
Yes,
that's a motivation right there. And
it is. Yes.
it's amazing that Neela Ray and Darebee came up with this.
Yeah, it's a mental trick if you like, but it works. I mean, it energizes us, it helps us feel good, it keeps us training, it keeps us changing, it keeps us mentally healthy, and it helps us physically. And I think these are all positive things in a world that really needs positive wins these days.
Okay, so just to recap everything we've talked about, you don't need a whole lot of time to work out. You just need 5 to 10 minutes a day. Commit to a certain time period. Don't stress over dieting, because that's just going to put you in a bad space mentally, and it's not going to help your health goals. And whatever you commit to, just commit to it, but don't overdo it, because you could hurt yourself. And if you hurt yourself, it's not going to be a good time.
Exactly. That's a
So
brilliant recap.
Oh, well, thank you. But no, I said it's been awesome talking to you, and thank you so much for joining us. And I think you cleared up a lot of misconceptions that people had about working out, like the
Good.
mental hurdles. Like I said, the thinking you have to devote like a half an hour to an hour each day, and you're gonna train like you're competing in a triathlon next week.
No.
It's nice to know it's much more accessible and easier than that. That's more mental motivation for me.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's absolutely fun. And within the Darebee website, there's a forum called The Hive. It is really, really welcoming. Anybody needs help. There are lots of people there. You just got to say, hey, I'm new to this. I'm facing this problem, whatever the problem is. And people just flock there to help you because, they're just an amazing bunch of people.
That's awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much, David. Thank you, Darebee, and Neela Ray for coming up with these workouts. We're going to post the link at the end so that you can go check them out. And if you're feeling a little sluggish and want to try to better yourself a little bit, Darebee is a fantastic place to start. So thanks for joining us on this episode of the CGU Learning Center. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Oh.